this schedule really shapes up for a playoff run with a 12-team playoff.
Areas that, you need to get from experience, which is just, hey, I need to make quicker decisions.
How do you define success for this team?
National championship.
All right, y'all, welcome in now to the Cover 3 College Ball Podcast, Summer School Edition. This is Stanford. Depending on how we edit this, you might have just seen us on the other side doing some Cal. But now it's Stanford. Jackson Moore, 24/7 Sports. He is all over the place. Stanford, Cal, San Jose, everything in the Bay Area. Also dips down to Fresno for us as well. Jackson, man, how you been?
Been good. How about you?
Doing well, man. About the same as I was last show. So, we will definitely do this thing. So, much like the other team you cover, Stanford had a lot of upheaval this offseason. And let's go ahead and talk about it. So, they end up firing their coach, right? And I think he's going to contest the firing, but he's not coaching them this year, obviously. The question will be, what is it for cause or not? And they bring in Andrew Lux, who's now the GM, his old coach in Indianapolis, to coach for 1 year. Okay. I mean, all right, that could work. How is this going to look different under him, and why?
Yeah, it's a tough spot for Stanford because Troy Taylor basically had little to no portal access. They're getting like 4 or 5 guys in previous years, and the roster he inherited got decimated by the portal and had more players leave each year. And this was year 3, so he was going to actually have a junior class of his own guys and a freshman and sophomore class. So it almost felt like he was going to have a full roster. They were way under scholarship in 2023. And now he gets kicked out, and a bunch of those guys hit the portal. And so now it feels like they're kind of starting all over to an extent, and they're depleted again. And you had 4 3-9 seasons in a row, 2 3-9 with Taylor, and it felt like this could be a year where they might start to turn a corner. And now they're saying we're starting over again, and you got to be a bit patient with us. And so that's hard to be patient after 4 losing seasons, but you're going to have year 1 of Frank Reich, and then you're going to go presumably to year 1 of another coach the following year. I think just as far as the team goes, personnel's changing a bit with the portal exits, but they're going to be more pro style, more NFL style on offense, and all the defensive staff is back, plus Andy Thompson from Sac State as their former head coach, co-defensive coordinator. So could be some wrinkles on defense, but offense is going to look quite a bit different on Saturdays.
What will be the biggest differences for the offense here? You mentioned more pro style. I assume that means a little bit slower pace-wise, maybe a little more run, but what are you expecting?
Yeah, I mean, before Troy Taylor was looking to spread it out and really air it out and kind of be an exotic spread, and now it's going to be a little more traditional. You're going to see a lot of 2 tight end, even 3 tight end personnel out there. They've got a big stable of running backs. I mean, they're going to go through them and use them as much as they can, and really they're not too loaded at wide receiver after all they've lost, and quarterback's a question mark. So it might be a fairly good timing to go that route this year anyway.
Quarterback-wise, what are we looking at?
Yeah, so it was a 2-man competition all spring long. Elijah Brown and Barrett Bachmeier split the reps 50-50, and it was a little bit of a head-scratcher. Bachmeier expected to leave the portal, or still practicing, and then eventually he does leave. So by the last practice this spring, you're just assuming Brown's the guy, and then you'll see what else they can do in the portal. And now they brought in 2 guys, Ben Gulbranson from Oregon State and Dylan Risk from UCF, and it'll be a 3-man competition in August. And I mean, you look at Gulbranson with the experience. I think Brown probably still has the highest ceiling, and Risk is kind of in between. He's played more than Brown and is also very young. So, I mean, the previous staff was investing a lot in Brown. With this situation, it would not be unusual for a grad transfer to lead this 1 year proposition with Gulbranson. So that might be how things work out here.
Running back wise, assuming that they do run the ball more, is there one guy that stands out as having the ability to take the majority of the carries?
I think that's the big question for me. There's like 5 guys that will probably play, but do they have one really good one? I'm not exactly sure. They bring in Tuna Altair from Eastern Washington, who is going to be the oldest and probably the most physical back they have. So he could end up being the guy right away. But I mean, there's 3 or 4. I bet that from game to game, week to week, they're going to ride the hot hand for probably 2 or 3 games. Whoever's healthy and whoever's playing the best is really going to be the flavor of the month.
Gotcha. Receiver wise, who are we drafting in college fantasy? Like, is there a guy who has real breakout potential, or I mean, I know Ellick's gone, so who's up next?
Again, all the up next are gone as well. I believe from the receiver unit, there was like 151 catches last year, and there's one back on this roster. So if you want to put your stock in
one catch,
one reception from the receiver
out of 151.
Yeah, Marcus Brown, a walk-on receiver. So if you're investing in the receiver unit, you're definitely going with the portal additions. And I mean, there was a lot of times this spring, the 3 transfers they brought in were the 3 guys on the field. So not a big surprise there. CJ Williams is the big one, former big-time recruit through USC to Wisconsin, now to Stanford. He's kind of the guy. And Caden High's an intriguing one too, kind of a D2 to FCS to Stanford path the last 2 years, and just a real speedster, and brings a kind of a deep threat element there. So those 2 guys are in front for me.
Offensive line, obviously they're going to run the ball more. They're going to do more straight drop back passing, less spread stuff. We looking okay there?
Short answer, no.
Okay. All right.
Hopefully they can shore it up here with the portal. They've added at least one, Nick Fattig from Texas Tech. I mean, this was the conversation I had with the staff, was basically they had 6 linemen they were very comfortable with, and now the rest of the roster, maybe 6 or 7 more guys. It's a thin room. Most of them already there in the spring, kind of developmental players. So maybe those first 6 guys are solid enough, but very thin. I guess you could say 7 now with the transfer they're bringing in, and a couple of guys that are iffy, question marks. But they bring in Nicky Prongos from UCLA. He's probably going to start at tackle. A couple of the linemen are guys that they got thrown into the fire in Taylor's first year as freshmen. Now they're juniors. So it should be as good, maybe better than the past couple of years, but the past couple of years haven't set a high bar either.
Gotcha. All right, let's go ahead and hit a break here. And on the flip side, we'll talk a little Stanford defense.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
All right, y'all, welcome back into the Cover 3 College Football Podcast, Summer School Edition. That's Jackson Moore. He covers Stanford, Cal, San Jose, Fresno for us, and does a great job with it. So we're going to talk a little Stanford defense now. They kept their defensive staff pretty much intact, right? So I assume they're going to run something similar to what they ran last year. Personnel-wise, how are the departures going to change what they have to do? And who are they most equipped to replace?
Yeah, it should be personnel-wise pretty similar. I know David Bailey's the big name with him transferring to Texas Tech here in this late window, but he was kind of in and out. There was times he was a big impact, and there was times where he disappeared. So they're not entirely unused to having gone without him. I think inside linebacker is probably the place that Tristan Sinclair was a staple for this defense for a long time, and they've got, I think, quite a few qualified linebackers. Matt Rose, I'm a big fan of him. He has had a couple of good off seasons in a row. Josiah Galvin played a bit last year. They brought in Zach Johnson from Idaho, who had a good season for the Vandals last year. And then they kind of went over the top. I didn't expect. They brought in Hunter Barth from rival Cal, who could be an immediate starter. So, Sinclair's and Bailey are the 2 biggest probably names that stick out of being gone. And the outside linebacker room, I think, is still healthy, and the inside backer room has maybe improved with the additions they've got as well.
Is there a young guy on this team who you're like, yeah, he's up next? I really like where he's going.
I know Ernest Cooper is a guy that's not necessarily young at this point, but he is kind of the one they're expecting to make a big jump. He, with Bailey gone and Wilfredo Abar missed spring, so he got all the first team reps and just looked really good at it. It's a lot of redshirt freshman D linemen who got a lot of reps this spring. A really interesting story is Benedict Ume, who's been battling Hodgkin lymphoma, coming in from high school, and he got cleared to practice this spring, and he took a lot of first team reps. So I think he's probably another year away, but I mean, he's looking like the guy that they had recruited in the first place. And in the secondary, an early enrollee, Omari Gaines at safety. Oh man, he looks like a guy that, I mean, he committed to Penn State, and it looks like one of those type of players that fell into Stanford's lap. So maybe not this year, but in the near future, I like him a lot.
This schedule is almost the exact opposite of Cal's in terms of friendliness. This is not easy at all. And at Stanford, or sorry, you are Stanford. At Hawaii, at BYU, host Boston College, which brings back a decent bit. At Virginia, host San Jose. So, like, you probably get that one there for sure. Although, I mean, you tell me, like, is that game a gimme for Stanford? You cover San Jose as well.
Yeah, I like the Spartans a lot this year, and they just beat Stanford to finish the 2024 season. Yeah. So, I mean, that's one where if you're counting on that win to get to maybe 3 or 4 or so, you're going to have to bring it that weekend to secure that one.
Yeah. At SMU, host Florida State. At Miami, host Pitt. At UNC, host Cal. And then, of course, host Notre Dame. How would you define success for Stanford this year? I mean, can you even put a number on it?
I really think the biggest success is just finding a way to streamline this season into next season to where you're just not starting from scratch. If they win 4 or 5 games, it's an improvement. But if everyone leaves and you bring in a new head coach, it doesn't feel like it was probably worth much. I think there's some coaches on the staff, or the assistant staff, that can earn their way onto the 2025 staff potentially, or 26. And with the new head coach, if they can do this right, I think this could be the launching point. And if they don't do it right, it's going to feel like a wasted year. So I think that's the biggest thing for me. On paper, it's probably tough to see too many wins, but I think there's enough games out there where they can steal a couple. I think last year's team, when healthy, was a lot better than the record showed. I think the team that went to Syracuse and hosted Louisville could have put up a much better fight in most games. It's just they weren't very deep, and they got hit bad with some injuries especially against the good teams they played. They were pretty thin in those games. So it's just, I don't know, if this roster doesn't quite feel like a big jump from last year after some guys that they've lost. So I think it's probably going to be a similar story as last year. If they can stay healthy, they should be competitive, at least against some of the teams on the schedule. And if they get hit with injuries, it's going to be tough to be respectable against some of these teams.
I mean, I thought they showed like great fight against TCU as well.
Mm-hmm.
In one of was that the opening game or one of the opening? It must have been the opener. Like that was impressive fight. I'll end it on this. Is there a guy out there who Stanford fans are like, hey, that's the next coach? Like, is there a name that we should all be kind of watching as someone who is not obvious to me, but maybe is obvious to Stanford fans?
Not particularly. And I think Andrew Luck has kind of set the table with this decision. One of the quotes he gave in his press conference bringing in Reich was that he's only been a GM for 2-3 months when he made that decision. One of the points that he made was what he thinks is the right head coach 2 or 3 months on the job might differ after going through a full season and seeing how all this works and plays out and making connections. So from that standpoint, he probably will be better equipped to find the guy in December, and maybe it becomes obvious by then. But I think they were really looking at all avenues right now, and this was the one they felt was the best, and we'll see if it works out.
Awesome. Jackson, really appreciate the time, and we'll be reading all your coverage all across 24/7 Sports. Enjoy this.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.